This conference will now be recorded.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. This is Mitchell County Supervisors meeting at the courthouse in Osage, Iowa. Meeting's available online also by GoToMeeting. We have an agenda in front of us, and one correction, number 8, we're going to move to next week. That's not going to work for today. Anybody sees on the agenda that needs to be amended? If not, I'll accept the motion to approve it.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Meyer makes a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Brian seconds. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Approve the minutes of the January 17th meeting and claims. Any corrections needed to the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the January 17th meeting and claims.
Anderson makes a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Bartos seconds. Any further discussion?
I had a question on one from secondary roads at CMR claims. Did we cut a cable up the state line?
I think we might have, I had, Merlin checked it out. It seems like maybe we were digging and they had a cable in the way. And I don't know if it was located or not, but we must have hit something.
Anything else? Okay. Hearing no further discussion.
Roll call.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Sydney. Aye. Jim.
Aye.
Todd.
Aye.
County Attorney General discussion. Morning, Aaron.
Morning.
Morning, ladies, gentlemen. It seems like it sits down low, but maybe it's just me. Anyway, I haven't heard anything from the city of Carpenter. A while back, sent a letter to them indicating they needed to agree to some changes.
I guess I had talked to the mayor.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, they don't want anything to do with it.
Okay.
And he said he's talked to all the people that have been delinquent and they're all on board with paying now. So he doesn't foresee there to be a problem anymore,
Well,
is what, and I don't know, Rachel said it's been good, right?
Yeah, the last couple months have been good.
all right.
But he says they, don't want to go there.
Well, I'll leave it in you guys' hands until,
Yeah, they talked about it.
because,
They decided.
there are certain provisions in there, and I don't have it in front of me, so I don't want to start talking too specifically, but, the provisions in there regarding termination and so forth, but that's not necessarily the ideal route for anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, so if
He kind of indicated too, if push comes to shove, they go unincorporated.
well, and,
So I don't know.
and they could, but I would also, I don't know the mayor that well, but I would probably say don't get too confident because I've been around the block a time or two myself. So if things go well, fine.
We had a good discussion. So
Yeah, if things don't go well, then let me know.
he assured me that things were going to go well from
Okay.
this point on, because.
So I will assume I will probably do nothing else unless I hear something different.
So that's the discussion I had, so I don't know.
Okay.
Anybody else has comments on what should or need?
Just let us know, Rachel, if it starts to get no payment things happening.
Because you gotta remember, I'm sure the mayor previous and the chair or whoever of the supervisors had discussed this, said everybody will pay, and you see where that went.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's his word. I hope it continues, everybody pays and move forward, but
He said that he's talked to them and people have figured out if they don't pay it, it costs them more.
with the fees, and it goes on the property taxes, it ends up costing them more money. So they're kind of, and he said the ones that weren't paying they're capable of it, but they just choose not to. But he thinks everything's on the up and up now, so.
Okay. Other thing is, sent, guess if this is more of the sheriff's discussion, I don't know if I told him either, but, tell you, we sent that termination of, service, termination of services to be effective, 30 days from the date they received that letter. I know it was received. I got it back. I sent it regular mail and certified mail, return receipt requested. I got those return receipts back. So I know, and I've also dictated Becky's gonna send you, just all of you, an email on this. So I believe the date they received it, I don't remember, I don't want to say, it'll be in the email you get. But anyway, just to calculate 30 days from that date, and that, ends. Won't need to do anything else. No further action will need to be taken. So whether they got stuff in gear, I don't know, but that's. Went to county attorney training last week. That was very good. One thing what you will notice is I will probably here in the next few days just be sending different pieces of information I got that I thought were very good, very important, things maybe I never considered before that is also good for all of you. And I try not to bombard people with these long, huge emails. I also try not to just bombard people with multiple emails because I know as much as anybody. Once you start getting a bunch of emails from the same person, you have a tendency like, but there are some of these things in here, just things I learned I never thought of that are very good. So, you might get some emails from me and you might be thinking, where's all this coming from? You know what I mean? And where it's coming from is because I was there and I was really, it was just, I'm glad I went, just say that. So I'll probably pass along some of them. And a lot of you guys might already know it. You might be thinking, well, I already knew this, Murphy. That's great. But anyway, if you start getting certain things, you'll know that it's not like there's anything going on. It's just that I learned certain things. So you don't have to sit there and think, where's all this coming from? Well, it's just coming from me. Okay. So. Anyway, that's about all I have. If you guys have other things to talk about.
Later on in the agenda has to do with that possible property purchase. You're going to be around in case we have.
I should be here.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll be here.
There's no action on it, but it's just a discussion is what it is, so. Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Sheriff update.
I don't have anything for this morning,
Okay.
unless you guys have questions for me.
Any questions for the sheriff? Okay, thank you very much. Department head discussion. Anything from anybody or online? Rachel?
Talk about, so we did get the petition turned in from Riceville. So we're gonna, I've talked to Julie Chapman with Howard because they have to have a precinct open. We're gonna do it February 28th. So candidates will have until February 3rd at 5 p.m. to turn in paperwork. It's a really quick turnaround that we have to get it done in. So we'll get some stuff posted on our Facebook and website. And hopefully people turn in paperwork, I guess.
Okay. All right. Any departments online have anything? Okay, hearing nothing.
Oh, Greg's got it. So.
Jim, I got a question.
Oh.
For the board.
Okay.
In terms of budget cuts, are they gonna affect employee salaries?
We haven't made a decision yet.
Okay. Concern I have with that, you make whatever decision you're gonna make, is when you approved it in January, my people asked what they were gonna get, and I told them, because it was approved. And so there's a little bit of a credibility issue if we back up on that now. I just want to throw that out. We consider that moving forward.
It's not anything that we want to do, and I'm not saying it is something that is going to happen either, but it's not a definite answer commitment at this time, so.
I would just also add that if that is your decision down the road to affect salaries by budget cuts, I would hope the same thing would be considered when you give money to other agencies that come and ask for it. I think we need to take care of our basics and invest in our employees. That's what makes this county go. And so I know you'll keep that in mind. The best asset we have in Mitchell County is the employees. And just please consider all that as you move forward.
We all agree with that the best asset we have in the county are our employees. We take our employees very seriously, so.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Yep.
And I think we need to take care of the needs of Mitchell County before others do, you know.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. County engineer update.
Morning. Not much to update. The only thing I have on the agenda is to the secondary road program amendment. Usually I don't have a program amendment. It's kind of uncommon for me to, maybe a budget amendment, but not a program. The reason we have a program amendment in front of us is because of this raise grant that we're trying to get pushed through. The grant committee and the DOT and everybody else putting this together thought it was a good idea. The bridge that was programmed in for 26, I think it's 26, had a different funding source attached to it. It was going to be a regular bridge funding, but now that we're going to try to use a grant, they wanted us to change the funding source on in the program, and they wanted to do it as soon as we can so that when they review the grant, everybody's got. They're trying to find ways to find. They're trying to make this grant writing as bulletproof as it can, so they can't find any reason why they won't give us the money. And so this is one of the things they found. Like, let's get all our projects that are programmed into the right categorical funding source. So that's what this is. Nothing else changed other than the funding source for that bridge. And it's the fiscal 23 amendment. So that's all that's in front of you, is that we just changed the funding source for that bridge. It went from a BRS to an ILL, which is an illustrative funding source, which I think right now is just plain earmarked money. And so that's what we're changing on this program. And the fiscal 24 program will probably look completely different when this is done. 23 and 24 will not be the same.
Questions on the local, questions on the local projects.
Mm-hmm.
I added them up, they come to $3.4 million. So can you explain?
Is that in the 5-year?
It's in the 5 year.
Yeah.
Over the whole 5 years, 3.4. So local means we pay for those projects?
Right, and in 2024, we have 2.5 million. And that was, what I programmed was, and I think these might have been programmed a few years back, and I just keep pushing down the road, but the 2.5 million in fiscal, that's doing some miscellaneous road work on the local paved system that we have. So like Lime Kiln, not Lime Kiln, but the River Road, 340th Street, March Avenue, 319th Street down by Orchard. These are all paved roads that are going to be due for paving sometime soon. They don't qualify for farm to market. It's got to be local money. They're not in the farm to market system. So I'm just programming them in the event that we will have the money for them when we need to have the money for them. So it's a precursor for you guys to see, look, we're going to probably need some local money when and if we decide to do these projects. Right now, the roads are fair. They're not going to last forever, and some of them are getting pretty bad. And we all know that the river road's looking pretty ugly in spots. The stretch from Orchard to Lancer on T38, that road needs some help too. There's a lot of roads that are deteriorating, and those are local paved roads. And like I said, we can't use any other funding other than local money. So that's what that's in there for. Some of these other, you'll see some local bridges. Because of where our bridge funding is at, we don't have the money to do everything with the bridge funds. And now that we've got this grant money thing and everything went from SWAP back to federal aid, and with bridges popping up that need more work, a lot of these projects are going to probably get pushed back. But some of them don't qualify for funding based on the repairs needed. If you're going to do repairs, there's certain qualifications to use the bridge money for, and sometimes they don't qualify based on sufficiency rating. For example, the Turtle Creek Bridge on 105, just going out of St. Ansgar to the northwest on 105. That one was, when they did the bridge inspections last time, they posted that because of special haul vehicles. Special haul vehicles are the ones they add extra axles to so they can add more weight to it. Well, that bridge couldn't take those increased loads with two-way traffic. So right away I put that in there. It's not structurally deficient in the sense that it needs immediate work, but if we want to keep the traffic moving on it, we have to make some repairs to it in order to get the weights, that bridge to hold these special haul vehicle weights. So I put an estimate in there of what we think it might take to help this bridge take these higher loads. Well, we reevaluated the bridge for one lane of traffic, and we're able to get the special haul vehicle loads on that bridge. But things like that pop up, and because it doesn't meet the qualifications to use the bridge money, we have to use local money to do that. I think that, I'm trying to remember now what the actual qualifications are, but sufficiency rating under 80, if the sufficiency rating is over 80 on the bridge, we can't use bridge funds, but we still need to make a repair to it in order to, if we want to continue to qualify these bridges for these special haul vehicles. If we want to let these things get posted, which I don't know how we can keep up, we either spend local money to upgrade these bridges to take those loads, or we keep them posted and people find different ways around. So that's where the local dollars are. And like I said, this program is going to change in fiscal 24, just by the way projects are coming in, getting paid for, the expense of the other ones, and how the funding is coming in and out. It's a juggling act. So I'm trying to massage everything to make sure we have funding that we don't have to use local money for, but I just don't see it in the future where we can't. We have to use local funding sooner or later.
When you say local funding there, are you saying that there'll be enough in your budget to do it?
There may be some in the budget, but it doesn't take long to spend the carryover balances in the local budget. And we always want to have a little bit of a cushion. I think I told you guys last time we talked about the budget was, the rule of thumb is to carry over $1 million, $1.2 million or whatever in your program or in your budget for increased costs, things like that, so we don't always have to amend. But there may or may not be the funds there. And that's what I'm always trying to work on is, can we sneak these smaller projects in with local dollars so we're not borrowing? Well, you start looking at paving roads at $2.5 million, unless we piecemeal them in little chunks, which sometimes raises the cost because you've got roads that are in the same vicinity. Are you going to do one stretch of road one year, wait another year? You've got different mobilizations, everything else. Sometimes you get the benefit of the volume of work and get reduced costs. So it just depends on how these projects fall into place and what we have the money for. So I don't know if I explained it well enough, but I'm always looking at, when we get to a point where we're looking at local dollars, will we have the money? I'll do the best I can at using my funding available without having to borrow any money, but sooner or later, there's probably going to come a point where either let stuff go or we pony up the cash to get some of these things done. Especially with roads that are on the local system that are paved.
Any questions from the board about that? Two of the structures on here, structures are 20 feet or more, and that's what we get funding for from the state and federal governments, 20 feet or more. Two of the structures you have, two of the local bridges on here are structures, which means 20 feet or more, and they qualify for state or federal funding, but you have listed as local, so what's up with that?
Some of them have to do, I think one, I'm trying to look at one structure. One of them is the bridge on 105 that's local that I don't think qualifies for the funding because of the rating of the bridge itself. It's not deteriorated bad enough to use the funds for the repairs. That's one of them. I think another one is,
Dancer over Rock Creek.
okay, that one is one that I think when I was programming it, I try to sneak, I shouldn't say sneak, I try to fit in a cheaper bridge when I think I have the funding for it in our bridge funding, or if I don't have the bridge funding, these bridges are in the reports are told, replaced in the next 3 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years. So I try to sneak some of these in here, thinking that if I have the money in, because I don't think it was a high expense bridge, so I might be able to satisfy the replacement with a different type of structure. So we try to use local money on some of these smaller structures, but it's all kind of a guessing game right now. Like the bridge that's on Dancer may have to get pushed back if we don't have the local money to a bridge. I think there's another bridge in there that got local, doesn't qualify because of traffic counts. It's a bridge that's greater than 20 feet, but doesn't have enough traffic on it to qualify. There's all sorts of things in there that determine whether or not we can use our bridge funding. And like I said, it shows local now, and it may be that we can open up our bridge funding later and take it out of the local. Just depends on how bad it is. I'm always trying to look at first, what are our hard service bridges looking like? They're the ones that take the most traffic. They haul the most product to and from the markets. And then obviously secondary roads, which are mostly the gravel roads. And I know that people are still traveling these roads, bringing crops in and out, but we got to figure out a priority. And usually it's the higher volume hard surface roads that take the oversized loads, the overweight loads, and all those that we got to kind of keep the system moving to and from the market. That's why they're farm to market routes, is they're moving product from the farm to the market. Local roads are kind of always secondhand. So those, it may say local now, it may change depending on how the bridge funding and stuff works. Right now, when I program, I'm saying, okay, the only way we can do this is with local funds. Either A, because we don't have the bridge funds, or B, it doesn't qualify. But we still need to do something to improve the structure.
Okay.
So that's why some of them are local.
Okay. Any questions for the engineer on that?
But for this amendment, it's just a matter of changing the funding source for that bridge south of McIntyre.
I'll accept the motion for this item.
I'll make a motion to approve the secondary road construction program amendment.
Hartle makes a motion. Is there a second? I'll second it. Where seconds? Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Roll call, Todd.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Sydney.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Thank you, Rich.
Oh, one thing, I got a call, that, I'm not sure if it relies on you. So some person called me and said, that accident that happened over by Stacyville, St. Ansgar area, where the truck missed the stop sign and hit the semi missed the stop sign, I think, and hit a truck head on.
Where was this at? Oh,
Yeah,
up on,
way up there.
yep, okay, 465th and.
Yeah. So he was wondering what it would take to get lights on all stop signs on gravels.
On
And-
gravels?
Or on those kind of sections. So you're coming, I think that was a gravel road that semi was coming off of, wasn't it?
No, it was hard surfaced. I think if it was Kirkwood, that's the one you're talking about.
That's where it occurred.
Yeah, there was 2 hard surface roads.
And it does have a flashing.
We did put a flashing light up on the one side.
But yeah, so he was wondering what it would take to get flashing lights on stop signs, flashing lights on curb signs, and I'm like, I will bring it up, but I'm not 100% sure on what can be done on that.
When we bought those stop signs, and we bought them several years ago, they were $1,500 per sign.
I figured
They've increased in costs significantly in the past few years, but I'd have to go through and find out how many stop signs we have, but it's going to be a significant cost.
yes. I
Um,
figured.
And I don't want to sound insensitive because I think that sometimes flashing lights get people's attention. But we are a distracted society where we don't pay attention to anything, whether it's lit up or not. We've got intersections, not in this county, but rumble strips, flashing stop signs, paint on the road saying stop ahead, and people are still running stop signs. I don't know what more we can do. You put a stop sign up, you're supposed to stop. If you don't stop, you either one, didn't see it because you're not paying attention, or chose not to. So I don't know what it costs. I can try to figure out every intersection that, every Heart Service intersection with a stop sign, I can find out how many signs we got, and I can come up with a number. It'll be an ugly number, but.
I'm sure.
And I completely understand the request. I really do.
I said, I've never dealt with anything like that, so I'll ask, but I'm sure it would be very, very pricey.
It can be, and then you've got the maintenance of those once they start.
They don't last
Batteries.
forever.
What's that?
Yeah, they don't last forever, so.
No, we've had pretty good luck with how long they've been lasting, as long as nobody steals them.
Yeah.
And, but I think the ones we put up a few years back, I don't think we've had much maintenance on them, but sooner or later they're gonna wear out.
Yeah.
Batteries are gonna go bad. Signs are gonna need to be replaced. Just because you've got a flashing stop sign doesn't mean the retroreflectivity is satisfied. You've got to make sure that it still reflects in case the lights do fail to work.
Right.
So.
Well, he just said, I'm a trucker and some of those things are nice. And
I mean,
if you pay
we've,
attention to them, that's great.
at every intersection, I think in the county, I don't know of any intersection that we don't have rumble strips in the approach to a hard service route on the hard service road. So.
So I'm just.
No, I understand, and I understand the request. I mean, if you want me to get you a number, I can.
Yeah.
When I find time to get it, I can squeak out some numbers for you and estimate what it would cost, but I don't think you're gonna like the number. We've got enough signs already that need replacing without adding more to the system.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Anything else for Rich? Thank you. Thank you. Here's the. Thank you.
We are sending out, also with this grant, we are sending letters out for support for businesses and organizations too. So we're trying to get that stuff sent out too. We've got some letters back, but they feel that the more support we get outside of the engineer's office and other departments, if we get more public support, we might have a better chance of getting funding. So we're sending out requests for letters too.
Very good. Thank you. Approved member to Mitchell County Economic Development Commission.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm just here because we are needing to add a member to our board. And according to our 28E, our board composition is made up of representatives from like the city councils and then also like the economic development corporations. And so how it works is the Osage Development Corporation, that's where the opening was. So the Osage Development Corporation nominated Michelle Russell for that position. And just a little bit about her, she is the CEO of Mitchell County Regional Health Center here in Osage. She's currently on a lot of different committees and task forces. And then, I mean, she does have an overall goal to make Mitchell County a great place to work and raise a family for years to come. And so, just according to our 28E, you guys have the final approval on that if you would like her to be and sit on our board.
Any questions from the board? Discussion, comments?
She's probably very knowledgeable. Yeah, she's involved in so many things.
I think she would be good. We received an email as far as a lot of things that she's involved with.
Very good email.
So I would not have an issue with it. I'll accept a motion for Michelle Russell, if anybody wants to.
I'll make a motion.
Meyer makes a motion.
Shelley Russell to the board.
I'll second that.
Anderson seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Roll call, Jim.
Aye.
Sydney. Aye. Mike.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Todd.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 8, we moved the moved on with. So, number 9, discussion on sale of small parcel of land. So we have received from the county attorney, possibility of this individual wanting to purchase a small sliver of land. Aaron, do you want to elaborate a little bit on it, or what's going on, or?
Yeah, that's the stuff I sent, right?
Yep.
And so I got approached. The transaction that kind of gives rise to all of this, I was not a part of it at all, so I don't. So what I'm relaying to you is kind of what I understand the situation to have been, because it was a transaction between private parties, and I didn't have anything to do with it. But there's a purchaser that bought some property off of somebody, and you can see there's this little parcel that's highlighted in that packet. The purchaser was under the impression that
We didn't get the packet.
oh, you don't have, okay.
Yeah, we were all emailed it.
We were.
Yeah, I copied it off the email we received, so we got
I
it.
don't think
Well, I can make sure.
Anyway.
Well, and I'll make sure. I'll make sure that I can send it again, because it's not gonna make a lot of sense,
So it came
maybe.
from you, Aaron?
What's that?
It came from you?
Well, it came from Becky probably,
It
right?
came from Becky.
On what day, do you know?
Because she has to scan everything in. I don't know how to do all that.
Don't believe I don't remember
Well,
getting it.
There's 2 emails. One was just the cover sheet there, and then the other one was that packet. But, anyway, go ahead.
and I'll double check. I can make sure everybody gets it.
I didn't get it.
No?
Probably your Mitchell CO email, not Gmail.
I looked in there also.
No.
I don't know. I'll check, see, make sure that it gets where it needs to go. But so what I'm saying will probably make a little more sense. Once you get that, but anyway, the purchaser of this property, there's this little sliver that's county owned, but nobody apparently involved in the transaction knew that it was county owned. And so the purchaser of this property buying off this other private person thought they were getting all the land. There's a little sliver that is owned by the county, and I believe the attorney, there was a title opinion done by one of the attorneys involved, and she is the one that from Mason City, and she's the one that pointed out that, hey, there's a little chunk of this property that's actually owned by Mitchell County, which kind of, everybody's kind of like, what? And so these folks, the purchasers, approached me and they said, well, would the county have any interest in selling or transferring this little sliver of property to us, because, well, we want it. We thought we were getting it anyway. And I said, well, that's not an issue for me. I'm happy to try and put the concept together, ask the board of supervisors, what they want to do, and then it'll be up to them.
How many acres is it?
Well,
It's just, I don't remember right now, but it's just a sliver. I don't even know if it's like an acre and a half.
yeah, I don't even know if it's that much.
Is it woodland, farmland?
It's just kind of, I think it's west of Osage.
Yeah.
In that, north of Lime Hill Road, back in there.
Yeah, it's right by the river, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
I thought everybody got that now. If
No,
you
I
didn't,
didn't get it. No.
excuse me,
Yeah, that's
if
fine.
you didn't, it's my fault, and I'm sorry that I didn't forward it on. I thought it went to everybody, but I will forward it to everybody, so everybody gets it.
Yeah, I didn't.
So my apologies if you didn't get it.
I'll make sure too. Cause I would have assumed I wouldn't have just sent it to you.
I thought it went to everybody.
Well, and I'll have to look to see, because I'm pretty sure I said, hey, send this out. But anyway, I'll make sure. And then it'll make a little more sense.
Just a little triangular chunk like this, it's not,
Is it by the road right away then, or why is it?
it's right along the river, but it is.
Why is Mitchell County own that?
I have no idea.
Or somebody donated at one time or something, or?
I don't know.
You get it done?
I don't recall, but I got two from Becky that are back to back, I believe, and I think I only opened the first one.
Well,
We'll get it.
I don't,
I'll check it.
I don't recall, was the map in there, in the email? See, that's, I don't recall a
It's in
map.
the attachment.
This is probably, anyway, you can see there's a little highlighted chunk there. And that's that's the little piece we'd be talking about.
Can we just have you resend that or whatever, and we'll put it on
There,
maybe next week's agenda?
It's on your
No
way.
action.
It's on your way. Yeah, there's no action, it's just
Yeah.
discussion today.
We probably still want to discuss it when we all have it in front of us.
Certainly.
Is that okay with you? Jill? Put it on next week.
So how would you determine a price and, yeah,
I suppose it's an acre, acre and a half, I imagine them are 40s, the squares. These are probably 40 acre pieces. This is a plot now.
I read somewhere like 1.2 acres or something like that.
Just based on, divided into 40 plots.
Any idea how we figure out?
Well, what? Since we're dealing with, government property,
Is there a road access to it at all, or no?
No.
I don't think so.
Not by that,
It's landlocked?
it's just out in the middle of.
Yeah, I think so.
Read the description. Can you read it?
Yeah, it's pretty small. I don't know what that line, what's that line going up through there? There's a line, diagonal line going across.
One of them's the river, but it's.
Yeah.
Is this, what's this line? Is that the road?
What's that?
What is that? It is, and it's right along the road. Is that line?
I don't think that's a road. What is it?
Well, that's it.
That's where, see, I don't have my glasses here.
I forwarded to Supervisor something the other day.
I think these might just be, I think these are just lines that the surveyor used for their markers.
Oh.
Okay?
Because generally these boxes are 40 acres.
Well, yeah,
That's generally how
Yeah,
stuff is divided
that's
up.
pretty much, yeah.
I didn't know, if that was a road, that would,
I don't think so. I think those are just surveying.
Yeah, for example, we'll take it.
Yeah.
survey lines are generally.
I'll make sure you get that. Maybe you already got it. I'll make sure too, so you can at least.
Yeah.
And as far as establishing the price, we can get a hold of,
What do they plan on doing with the land?
I guess I don't really know.
If it's landlocked, we'd need an easement or something to get in there, wouldn't we?
There should be an easement.
Well, didn't you say they own some of the land already?
Yeah,
So if they have owned some land already, there'd probably be a way to get to it.
yeah, I think they already got the rest of it around there, so.
That diagonal line that shows that's the center line at the Cedar River.
Oh, that's the river?
So it's right alongside the river. It's labeled that.
Might be worth quite a bit then.
Riverfront property?
But,
$500,000.
I would think so.
setting a price, we can get, I suppose we can get a hold of,
Found it, didn't
I'd get a hold of, you don't wanna necessarily pay for a appraisal, right? Unless if they want it bad enough, they gotta pay for it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I personally, I don't wanna really have any expense in this.
Well, no, I wouldn't suggest that. I would suggest that whatever expense there is, I mean, I'm not the policymaker, but, you know, as a taxpayer, you'd say, well, yeah, that's ought to be their expense. As far as getting the price, if it came to it, we could tell them, or, I mean, I could probably determine a value of it just by talking to some people.
If it's woodland or, you know, if it's,
Yeah, I think,
if it's full of walnut trees or if it's full of.
yeah. But we could get a value
Cranberry,
and
you know, makes a difference. I don't know.
then go from there, so. Yeah, I don't really know much about it. Just, was approached one day, somebody came in the office and said, this is what's going on.
And I thought you guys got it.
No, we'll
I
make sure.
apologize, but, you have it now, I forwarded it to everybody, so it should be on the way in.
All right.
We'll talk about it again, so.
Yeah. Maybe we can.
And that's all it was today, was just to chat about it, so.
Yeah. Go out and look at it or see if we can figure out where it's at or see what it looks like, I guess.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Aaron.
You bet.
Discussion and possible action on St. Ansgar Heritage Association funding request. Morning.
Good morning. I'm Karen Curley. I'm on the board of the museum. For the past few years, we've been renting a room at South Square. But this month, we got a notice saying that the rent is going up quite a bit, so we're moving out. We're going back to the museum in downtown St. Ansgar between the fire station and the medical center. The museum itself has been closed for probably 15 years. And the last few years, we've just been using it as storage. So it needs a lot of work. And we're in there now cleaning, painting, and restoring and repairing. We would like to be open in the spring. We would like to have a handicapped entrance, either in the front or the back, preferably the back. The front door and the back door both need work. So we're asking your support. I have been on a board 6 years, and my very first meeting, I came here. And you supported us then, and you've been supporting us for 6 years. And so I'm hoping that you will continue to do so. And I do have a handout.
Okay. Thank you.
I think that's one. That's two. That's two. Okay.
Thank you.
Whoa. Break your equipment
Where do you get all your funding from, as far as what are the sources other than us? I mean, is
here.
it,
Just from members, and from most of it is we do moneymaker things. We usually have one really good one a year that brings in quite a bit. Last year we had a women's night out that brought us in quite a bit of money.
I just wanted to, my question is because I want to make sure we're not just your only funding source.
No.
Or that we're your major funding source.
No.
I want to make
And
sure there's other things involved.
We have several money-making things. We do get some money from the city of St. Ansgar. So,
As much as what we contribute?
no.
Okay. $4,000. Yeah, that's my question as far as.
Any other questions?
4,000. I think we contributed 4,000 before, didn't we?
Right,
Yes.
right. Mhm.
A concern is what I have, that it's a thing that happens within the city. And to me, the city of St. Ansgar should be the major player in this and not the Metro County. That's a concern I have. And that's why I wondered what the city contributes for something that's within their city boundaries. So, that's a concern I have.
Right. We get a donation every year.
Okay. So we're at, discussion of possible action. So any comments from the board and then
I'd sure like to help, but I think right now, we can't take action on it. That's my personal feeling.
Yeah, because we're still working on the budget, trying to make up the shortfall, so we gotta figure that out first, I believe. I don't think we can take action on it today either, just because of
it says
what we're working
it
on.
says possible action. So any other comments from the board? Okay, so we will take the request into consideration, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Discussion on main to main. I went to put this on the agenda, I went to the CRC a couple weeks ago and to catch Sydney up to date on this. Last few years, we've had some comments from the people that run the main to main route in regards to not getting access to their properties during the event. Last year, I believe one of the deputies, the ATV that was leading the lead person, they didn't yield right away to the deputy and he had his lights going on, and so we had that issue, plus a number of comments.
Does she know what the main to main is?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
It goes past my house.
There was a FedEx
One
truck
time I
too
did.
that they made turn around and he ended up back in the ditch.
No.
That must be a different reason.
This goes from Main Street of Osage to Main Street of St. Ansgar.
Oh.
And it's
That's
the CRC has it for,
Boston Marathon.
yeah, qualifier for the Boston Marathon.
Oh, yeah.
So go ahead, Mike, what you're
And
saying.
there was a FedEx truck that they made them turn around and they ended up running in the ditch and had to get a wrecker and back in the ditch. And there was a farmer, I know that his sons were supposed to come and help the farm equipment ready and they wouldn't let him go down the road, and I got a number of phone calls.
Yeah.
I myself was over in Mitchell and wanted to go to my daughter's place. I had to go on block into where they weren't gonna let me through. I told them I was gonna call the sheriff because this is a road, I need to get through it. They want me to go a different way. It's a dead end road. I couldn't go a different way. And plus I had numerous phone calls from everybody that lived along the route.
So we've had some issues with it, and a couple weeks ago, they'll be coming here wanting to have it approved so that we can do this again. I wanted to be ahead of the situation a little bit and us to discuss this. I went to the CRC a couple weeks ago to talk to the director to give them a heads up that we need to start thinking about this. She was busy. I got her email address, but I got to thinking, well, I'm not gonna just do this on my own. I need to discuss this with the board because this is a board thing. And also, this route is not in my district. I don't mind working on it, but I also don't want to just take charge when it's in other people's district if they want to take the lead on this. So that's why I brought it up, thinking we need to talk about it. What do we want to do? We could just axe the whole thing. We could tell the director, you need to contact law enforcement, so you're on board with yielding to them. You need to contact all the people on the route to get their permission, so we have public support with this. I mean, we just need to figure this out before they come and wanna do something.
I have some thoughts on it. I think if they want to use the same route, they need to contact every property owner on that route, get their blessing or signature that they're okay with it. Because there was way too much went wrong last year. I think everybody will agree with that.
But in their defense, last year they had a change of guard at the CRC. So the new gal had just happened to come on probably 2 weeks before that last year's event, so, but they were pretty vocal on wouldn't let anybody through, and there was a guy fishing, he was just gonna go down the Mitchell Hill, and they wouldn't even let the guy drive down the hill. And it's not like it's everybody running constantly, there's
Yeah.
breaks, so they could have run down the hill and made it, but they were They overdid their authority last year.
The road I went going, there was no runners, there's nobody. Yeah, it was, it
I'm,
was only blocked.
I think we should, meet, give them the opportunity to, just what we've all said, I think they need to, one, loosen up, because again, I talked to the previous, gal, and very rarely, other than the start, are these runners in a pack. It spreads out, and I mean, I don't want the runners to get hurt either, but I think they need to talk to the people along the route and with the sheriff's office, and, 'cause, I mean, it's, personally, I think it's a good thing. Some may not think that it's, profitable for Osage, but it is. I'm around town, and there's some that are eating at restaurants afterwards. There's people coming the day before. So if we can try and work together on it, and I'm totally not going to say I'm not opposed to itching it or sending it on a different route. I'll come with an open mind, but it takes quite a bit to get a route for like a marathon qualifier. So, I guess, I don't know, Sheriff, if you have any input other than what we've been saying, or?
I would say that the problems we're having are a result of a successful event. They're getting the number of people that they want, and it seems like it grows each year. And I don't think they're insurmountable. I think we can continue to have the event. But I think there's some, when it was advertised initially, they talked about a closed event or an open event. Closed event means all the roads are closed and no traffic can be on them. Maybe it needs to be advertised as an open event, so the runners are aware when they line up to run that there'll be cars, there'll be traffic on the roadway. Nobody's really responsible for them except for themselves. We can have safety, folks along the route like we have in the past. And so can the organizers in the event somebody has a medical issue, whatever might arise. But if it's advertised as an open event, so they know coming in here that there's gonna be traffic on the roadways, it may smooth some things out. I support it. It's a good event for the county and the cities. And my deputies, the issue that we had last year, I think is isolated, although it was an issue. I don't want it to happen again. There isn't anything we can't overcome. I would be in support of the event continuing, but advertise it in a little bit different way so that people are aware that there's traffic on those roads when they're running.
Who made the decision to have this road closure come? I know we've talked about this before. There wasn't any, the board didn't close any roads.
So
Rich wants to.
I've been kind of involved since it started. In the first year, there were no road closures, and Folsom Avenue, or not, Foothill Avenue takes a ton of traffic, and they've got a certified route for the Boston Marathon. So the first year was utter chaos with all the traffic running down Foothill back and forth. And I'm not recalling whether or not we just put road close signs up without an official closure. As the event got bigger, the group came to the board and asked if we could do a closure. Now, the problem with the closure is you've got people living on that route. We say road closed or road closed through traffic. Now you got confusion as to, can I go through or can I not go through? So they came to the board at one time and said, can we close Foothill? Not any other route. We put signs up along the other route saying road closed, but it's just to more alert people that there's an event going on, be careful. Foothill takes the most traffic, so I think in the past, all the other routes were low volume traffic that up until I wasn't available last year. That was the first year I wasn't available to set up the detour. But in the past, we've always, it seems as though, and I haven't been on the Osage side, I was always monitoring Foothill, but we've always allowed the locals on the non-officially closed portion to get to their residence. It's been a low volume issue up until last year, if I remember right. they try to post volunteers at every intersection to control traffic just going through. And so I think the year prior, we had a farmer wanting to get their semi loaded, and I escorted him with my vehicle through the route that was closed. It's a hodgepodge of what's going on. And the situation is we closed that road down early in the morning because we want people to understand that the road is closed because we don't know how fast these people are running. And it's the tail end of the route for the big marathon. So it's always, the first one closed, the last one to get back opened up because we open it up as the last runner goes through. Once they turn that corner to go towards Mitchell on 380th, then we take the detour down in traffic and go through again. But it's been a hodgepodge. It's been a confusion of, do we let people go through? I mean, if we say, if the board says we're closing this road, then the way I understand it is if we're closing the road, we're closing the road. I have issues with the fact that people live on the road and still need access. On the flip side of that, it's hard to say that nobody knows what's going on that lives in the route because it's been happening for so many years. Whether they like it or not, they know what's happening, but that doesn't mean that they still cannot access.
That's what I mean. I mean, I don't live on the route, but if I did, and somebody said, well, you know what's going on, get used to it, I have a slightly different.
Well, I'm not saying get used to it that you can't.
If somebody on an ATV tried to stop me from getting to my field or my house, person might find themselves in.
That's what's happening.
Not a good situation. So I don't know, I suggest, I don't know, one thing, I don't mean this facetiously, but one thing you might want to do is check with the county's insurance carrier, see if they have any suggestions, because they do sometimes. They do sometimes have suggestions for events like this. And I don't know that most counties would necessarily, but insurance companies obviously are very concerned with paying out claims, right? And if you get in a situation like this, if things go wrong, somebody could get killed or hurt, and then whether the county's responsible or not, you're going to find yourselves in a lawsuit whether you ask for it or not. Ultimately, then you rely on your insurance carrier. I always advise not only the county, but I advise my private clients too. It's worth taking the time, get a hold of the insurance carrier and say, look, here's what's going on. We don't have any issues, right? There's no exclusion in a policy or anything, right? And then also sometimes they'll have suggestions, to say, here's how you should stage this event. I don't know that they would necessarily, but it might not be bad checking into. It sounds a bit like a mess.
Want to finish, Rich?
Well, we've had discussions about traffic control. I mean, I've been out in the morning setting traffic control, but people blowing through the fences that I put up and moving the barricades out of the way. When I get to one end, I got to go back and fix the other end. And it's a constant battle back and forth because, well, some people just don't want to pay attention to it. And on my end, if we're closing the road and I'm told this is a closed road, we need to keep it closed. However, I understand that people want to get out. And so the confusion is it closed to through traffic? Is it closed to, if it's closed to through traffic, that means locals who need to access their property are allowed on that road. If we're doing a full closure, then technically nobody's allowed. But we still, I don't agree with not allowing the locals to get into their yards. I mean, they need access. And some people in the past, I think, have been really good about it where they want to sneak out. Somebody wants to get out of the campground down at Halverson Park. We say, okay, sneak out and take the gravel road around. They'll just cross over and use the route for a little while and go around. And some people have been pretty good about that. Not everybody has access to it. We try to tell them to get to the first gravel road and go around. Not everybody wants to do that. But for the most part, in the past, I haven't seen that big of an issue. And I wasn't around last year to know what actually happened, but it sounded like it wasn't as smooth as it has been in the past. There are probably other options for traffic control, but it's going to cost money.
Sure.
I just was gonna, on the coattails of what Aaron suggested, that depending on the answer that you get from the insurance company may affect other events in the county, not just this one.
Mike, you have something you're gonna say?
Well, I'm just kind of listening now, but, yeah, I don't know, is there an alternate route they can take?
They've got this one certified and, I suppose they could try to certify a different route. I think the goal was, it's main to main, so what other route can you take where,
Has to be hard surface?
well, I'm not a runner.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd be wanting to run on a gravel road, some of these, the footwear people are wearing they don't even look like you could protect yourself from a rock, but they're comfortable running in the shoes that they're wearing. I don't understand it, but, I don't know. That's not up for me to decide what route they take. I think they wanted the hard surface because it's easier for them it's more sure-footedness than it would be on a gravel road, or if you have traffic on a gravel road, there's dust, everything else. I can't answer that. I'm just only assuming why they took it. And to get the certification for the length for the marathon qualifier, that's what worked. And because it's main to main, I guess it gets you to the main streets in both towns.
So what I've heard is, check with our insurance company for ideas, possibly advertise it as far as a open event, also possibly not have it closed, but have a road closed to through traffic. Heard those three things. Missing anything else?
I don't know. I think maybe they should talk to the people that live on it too.
Well,
because they're.
And the issue with closed to through traffic is you can stop somebody and say, are you going through? No, I gotta go. And you're not gonna get an honest answer if somebody really wants to go through. Because the detour does take them quite a bit around to Balsam Avenue. And, it's not convenient, but it's only for a short amount of time. It's not all day. Usually by what, noon, 1 o'clock? I don't know what time you got done taking signs down, but
Yep, noon, foothill.
I usually have it closed by 4 or 5 in the morning, and then it's noon when it gets opened back up.
The things I mentioned are the things that these people have mentioned that the county could possibly do to try to improve the event. No, I think the CRC also needs to be involved with this too.
Yes.
I'm just mentioning what we might be able to do, so.
Yep.
Is there any discussion, or is there one or two supervisors want to work on this, or?
We could, since it's in our district. The two comments I had was it brings in 500 people. I think that 500 runners last year, so it does bring in a lot of people to town.
Okay.
And then the other thing, like Rich said, Halverson Park, so you get somebody from out of town that pulls in there, wants to leave on Saturday for emergency or whatever. He comes out, sees the road closed, and they won't let him through. That doesn't, not very good for the public relations for the county.
I know in the past, though, I think conservation and the CRC have been down there letting the campers know that, hey, look, we're gonna do this. If you wanna get out in this time period, get out before that happens, and then this will be open again. But you can't ever plan for everybody's emergency. But I know in the past, it seemed to me there was always good communication. They would, in fact, I think the first couple of years, they had people that were down in the park come up and cheered everybody on. And they knew that, not every time do you go camping, you're always leaving every day. Some people go to work and then come back and camp, the rest of the weekend. But you can't plan for everybody's emergency. But I know in the past, it seems as though there was always good communication with the park and with the people down in Cedar Village and everything else. I think even Cedar Village helps fund a water spot or whatever. They're always out there. So, I think it can be done. It's just complicated as to how do you want to do it.
I think we need to figure it out and improve it, because there were lots of concerns last
Those
year.
500 people aren't just Iowa.
I wasn't aware it was 500 people. I didn't
They're
know
from
that many.
other states,
It was
not just local.
Yeah, multiple states they came.
Yeah.
And I think last year and the year before, I don't know who it is, but I think it's from a different country.
Mhm.
And I think there's it's only maybe one or two, but you know what? I think if we bring the director in and have a good conversation, and we need to talk to her or him. I'm not sure who is.
It was a her.
Yeah, is it Nicole? Probably, John, Nicole Don.
Yeah, I think we should have her come to a meeting and we could discuss our concerns and.
Yeah,
She could.
Yeah, and give her an opportunity, and see how it works out. But
Go ahead.
but I think we need to relay a lot to her that there's a lot to do.
I have no problem with her coming in here. maybe before that, personally, I'd like to have one or two supervisors contact her so that she can start thinking about this too, rather than just
We can
having it in here too.
Yeah. What's her name again?
Nicole Dodd, I can give you her email address.
We can go to CRC.
Just go to CRC and she'll be there, right? Probably at some point.
Yeah, she could be, and it's the back side.
I would just check with the sheriff, and if I would encourage you to, everybody has their little things they're obsessed with, and I will admit, one of my things is insurance coverage. I mean, it is. There's like a running joke at our office, Todd Pritchard, who's kind of with the private part of the firm. His thing is cybersecurity, right? He will run that into the ground. We're like, oh man, mine, I will admit, is insurance, and my wife and everybody gets tired of me harping on insurance all the time because I'm paranoid. But just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you. That's what Terry Fulton used to always say. But anyway, I would encourage you to do check with your insurance company, just make sure that this isn't somehow excluded. It's like, okay, there's no exclusion here, right? We can do this. And then I was also just talking to the sheriff, and it could be maybe a situation where maybe you just had 3 or 4 people who were what do you want to call them, the guards or whatever. Maybe there's not a foundation problem so much as you had 3 or 4 people that just get a little overzealous and think they're deputies for the day. And somebody may need to impress upon them that you guys aren't deputies, okay? You can't just start. Maybe the CDC director could talk to them and say, you're gonna have to chill out a little bit here.
So you can talk to the insurance company.
Say to talk to insurance, yeah. Because literally they had all the roads closed. They acted like, and the foothill was the only one that was supposed to be there.
There's signs up on every intersection along the route, every side intersection, and we do in advance say road closed. But the one that's physically fenced off is foothill.
Okay.
Physically fenced off from the north and south. We didn't have enough materials, and this is, I volunteered to do that. Our guys go out on a Friday and lay everything out, and then I go out in the morning and set everything up with the help of the CRC. But it's fenced off north and south. The side roads have barricades on them, but we just don't have the equipment and the manpower to just set everything up like that all the time either. So,
There was a farmer along that road.
but that was the one that was by the board allowed to be closed. I think there was even maybe a resolution. I don't remember, but
I remember the one time we had a road project and we didn't have a road closed through traffic, we had a road closed. And paving project, we were letting people out after we reached maturity. And there's a highway patrolman that had an issue with that.
Yep.
That the road closed means you're not on this,
right,
even if you live on it.
Yep.
So
it's funny how those few words make a big difference in the meaning of allowing access.
Okay. Well,
any other comments? Okay, that's what I wanted, is just to start the process here, so that's very good. Okay, where are we at?
Item 12, I believe.
Meetings attended. Okay. I had a Mitchell Soil and Water Conservation District member call me, and he just wanted to let the board know, or the public know, that, they donated $100 to the Wapsie watershed, where we also said that they donated $100 to the Shell Rock also, so they're just kind of being consistent with what they're doing. He just wanted to relay that. And then had a North Iowa Juvenile Detention Service meeting. Talked about weapons and in the detention, and these are juveniles, in the detention, they will allow you can pat those people down, but in the mental health part of it, they just ask them to open their pockets and backpacks before they go in there. And I'll get into that a little bit later. So I generally don't like to read things, but sometimes it's just easier. So these are juveniles, and this shows where we have a major problem. So we had a female that tested positive for methamphetamines that assaulted staff and gave them a concussion. also had one male resident that had both delinquency charges and mental health disabilities. There was a language barrier as he spoke Spanish, so this raised another challenge when communicating with him. He damaged both of our control rooms. Control rooms are where they put them when they're having an issue. It's a place that it's safe for the juvenile, but it's the control room. So he damaged both of our control rooms and constantly destroyed clothing, smeared food and feces all over his room, and at one point ate his shoe, threw it up and rolled in it. We took him to the ER, however, he returned to our facility as there was no psych beds available anywhere. He was given medication that helped manage his behaviors until he was discharged. So we have talked with an individual at the meeting I went to last week. We have a major problem, at least in this state, probably in the whole country, to deal with these probably situations, and all we do is a Band-Aid type process. We're not really solving things, it's just a Band-Aid. The one supervisor that was sitting next to me made the comment that the state has made it quite well, and I'm not aware of this was his comment. The state has made it quite aware to counties that they have money to help with this problem, and they say the counties figure something out. Well, if you look at that, the county will say, okay, we're gonna build a facility to help with these people. The state says, okay, give us a design, pay for a design that you will have to build this facility. County pays money for the design, and the state says, no, that's not quite what we want you to do. Well, then the county has this money. And so what I'm saying is there's nothing in the middle here. State says they have money, do something. County says, well, we can't do anything because we don't have money, we don't have a facility. There's something missing in the middle of this whole formula. And in the process, we have people that we're just putting Band-Aids on, people that really need help. So it's not a good thing. This is in the mental health area. These are older people, and that was a juvenile. This is in the mental health area. Another incident was a client having multiple large knives in his backpack throughout his stay. Nobody was harmed, but thankfully the client reported the knives to the staff, and we removed them from the unit. I have hats off to the people that work in these facilities that deal with this every day. I couldn't do that. So there's a problem there. Went to a 2-day two-day seminar in Des Moines hosted by ISAC to learn stuff about my job that had to do with all elected officials. Some of the things that went over was open meetings, public records, the property tax system, various departments like there was an auditor, treasurer, recorder, sheriff that was there, spoke to the supervisors as far as what their role is and things, and just an educational thing. It was very good. So that's all I had.
Mark and I met for a little safety meeting. We need to set another date with Chris Olson for the next one, because he's on that safety committee too.
He's a chair. Yep.
Yep, so we need to set an official meeting with that, but other than that, that's all I have.
Well, I went to Northwood to an emergency management meeting with Worth, Sarah Gordo, Floyd, in Mitchell County. It's kind of I don't know, talked about trying to do some fundraising for when disasters come, and talked about disasters, how one county could help the other county, and so forth. So that was the only meeting I had.
I had ISAC one, same one Jim went to, and I went down Wednesday. My plan was to go there Wednesday. I had a Heartland Insurance meeting Friday in Tama. I was usually done by noon. I was going to get back to Des Moines. But first on that, it was a very good conference, and the guy mentioned that not only do you learn from those different segments, is the people you talk to out in the break rooms and at the bar, but I never made it that far. We learned a lot, I'm sure. So then anyway, I went to Tama Thursday morning, and we're usually done by noon, but we did some budget work there, and then we had to go to a closed session for an over 2-hour meeting, because about the only thing I can say is there's a Hardin County, we're in a pool with 9 other counties, there's 10 of us in this insurance group. Hardin County is in there, and they had a snowplow get rear-ended by a car in 2021, and 2 gentlemen in the car got a couple broken bones, but they're suing for $7 million. So we had a couple lawyers there trying to figure out strategy on how we're gonna try to get out of that. So I didn't make it back to Thursday's meeting. But they think they got a good case to get out, but you never know. $7 million, how they got with that number is that's the cap on Hardin County's insurance. Seems like a lot, but I don't know. That's all I had.
I had a FMC, Families Making Connection meeting. We elected a new chair and vice chair. This is kind of our first one since we've gotten a full committee. And we went through the FY23 contracts, financial spreadsheets, and all's looking good. And there is one contract that they let us carry over till 2025, I believe it is. So it doesn't get a lot of it. It can get spent on situations, but we haven't had any. So the state's letting them carry it over through this year, 24, and then we have to hopefully have it spent by 25. So that's all I had.
Okay, thank you. Clerk of Court report for December. We have an amount of $2,008.36. That's a so noted item. The neural management plan update.
We have one for our Finisher Farm, 1237 50th Street, Riceville.
Public comments. Anything from the public?
Sure, real quick, because the meeting's already going, probably longer than you wanted. To highlight Jim's point on the mental health issue, we sat last week for 13 and a half hours at our hospital with a juvenile after the judge gave an order for us to take her into custody because nobody would take her. So 5 East wouldn't take her initially. 13 hours later, they did take her. But we sit out there, we have one deputy who has responsibility to handle calls. Essentially, we're babysitting. So it is important that we stay with those young people because they do have mental health issues. So it happens right here, pretty regular, and it tests our deputy, might be the only one working. And so whatever the solution might be, maybe we can have a mental health wing at our hospital, but something's gotta be done. But everybody says that and nothing ever gets done. So we're dealing with it here pretty regular. And then finally, I guess, on the main issue, maybe those folks can reach out to the organizers of RAGBRAI, because they make it work all the way across the state. We should be able to make it 6 miles, 10 miles, wherever they're on. Just a thought. That's all I have now. Thank you.
I would like to say something online.
Yes.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, this is Sherry Penny, and I would also like to make a comment on Main to Main. First of all, I really applaud you for having this discussion ahead of time in a public meeting before the CRC comes. I think this is excellent that you're doing your homework on this event. I would just like to say from an economic standpoint, this is a race that there are only 13 Boston qualifying full marathon races in Iowa. Of those, only 3 are rural. So it's us, Riceville, and Shenandoah, Iowa. So just to keep that in mind, this is something that's excellent for Mitchell County. It really highlights us and brings a lot of people to North Iowa to increase tourism. So just make sure that you really do the research and are prepared when the CRC comes. And thank you again for talking about this in this meeting today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Jenny, you
I was just wondering, like, what facility was it that you were talking about with the juvenile? Like, was there,
what about that? Where
what facility was it?
Waterloo,
Waterloo.
North Iowa Juvenile Detention.
Okay, sure. Yeah, and I come from mental health, and so, I mean, really, like, there's nowhere for these people to go that have some serious mental illnesses, so I mean, they have become a problem in the community. They've consumed law enforcement time, and I think a lot of it, is, you know, with the closing of those hospitals, I think that's where a lot of the state hospitals, they closed 2 of them. And there's really nowhere for them to go. The state believes that they should be taken care of by the community. As a community provider, I was a previous executive director at a community provider, and like we're not equipped to handle like serious needs people. And I think let's go back to those state hospitals closing.
That's bingo. You just identified what I was sitting here thinking before she said it. That's it.
That's the comment that the supervisor that's sitting next to me also had. You know, we had the presentation from the mental health gal and talked about the institutions that have been closed. But his comment was, you know, people view institution as kind of a negative annotation, maybe negative word, but an institution does not have to be negative, and there are people that need a facilities. So rather than tearing them down, maybe we need to have those facilities, modernize them, but they probably are needed.
Yeah.
So
It's kind of, you know, I think, you know, going back to like the 60s and before, you know, when you had the conditions in some of those facilities were absolutely atrocious, and you wouldn't have a pet in there. And that's kind of what led to all this impression, you know, and I have talk to my wife sometimes at the office because we're dealing with this all the time. I don't want my family member in one of those facilities that existed decades ago, but we certainly don't have to have that now.
correct.
I mean, we can surely do better and help them and help the rest of them.
Any other public comments? Okay, hearing none, I'll accept the motion to adjourn the meeting. So moved. Okay. Mike's got it.
I got it. One.
Is there a second? Marco seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Yeah.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
So.